Hey guys, my name's Orthodox. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at a flame tier list. This is for Volk's Wrath. Today, of course, as always, I have myself, and joining me is Larart.
Hey, what's up? I'm Laurent. I used to write scripts or log when he was making videos. I'm not sure if it's... but he's taking a break, so yeah.
He's on vacation mode, yes. Yeah, and so we're looking at, once again, the criteria is public Volk's Wrath, so the Agitos, or the premier flame content right now is Volk's Wrath. And then we look at the playability of the character, the backline potential of that character, their co-abilities, and finally their shared skills. And then on the left-hand side, we actually have the listing for the tiers. So S plus being universally the best, S being the best units in each element, A plus being very strong picks, A being strong but missing something, B plus average, and so forth and so on, off meta, valuable for chain co-ability or skill share, and then of course down to the don't build these. Before we get started, just like to say the finished tier list will be in our Discord actually, which will be in a link in the description below. So if you guys want to take a look at that, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment as well, or head over to the Discord and we'll have an active discussion. So without further ado, Laura, you want to get started? We can start on the don't build these guys.
Yeah, sure.
I guess Marty, is going to be there. Marty, Valentine's, Orion. I think that really does it, though, for the 3
Aurien.
stars.
In my opinion, Orion.
Yeah, I could see him. He's interesting. All right, he does have a spiral potential.
Yeah.
At the very least. But yeah, I just don't see... of course, with Halloween Lowen existing, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely a toughie for him. He's got way too much competition.
Yeah.
So...
Verica, Grace, Halloween, Lowen.
That's true. That's actually quite a lot, yeah. Okay, well, looking at the rest of the 3s, the rest of these do have spirals, so they're a little bit more interesting to talk about. I guess let's start with Alain as the Lancer. He's definitely interesting. I'm probably going to say that his existence is going to be off-meta.
True.
At the most. I don't think he's bad, but I don't really feel that a last defense ability has a place in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely has decent damage output, especially when spiraled, but it's nothing too flashy. I think additionally his shared skill, right, is just a damage skill. I don't think there's much utility there to be offered. Do you have any thoughts?
It does burn, but his shared skill burns, but...
Oh, it does burn, that's right.
Yeah, but it's so low damage. I don't think it's worth money. And it also like costs 5 skill points, so...
Right. Well, and of course burn is interesting because we are in an oversaturation meta for burn, so
yeah,
it's like having a shared skill that also burns is counterintuitive.
Yeah, he has like okay damage, doesn't do a lot, doesn't provide team support, doesn't have a lot of damage. The burn is like just standard.
Right.
His has nothing like wrong, but he also doesn't have anything to make him good. So yeah, off meta is a good place, I think.
Yeah, I think Xania then moving on next would probably be on average. I think B plus is probably a fine place to put her. She does have the capability of passing through Master Volk, right? The only issue with her is double burn skill causes you to cap through your burn very quickly.
Yeah, and then her damage just drops a lot.
Yeah, her damage then suffers substantially. Still overall, probably the strongest of the 3s.
Yeah.
Or one of, actually there is a good point for Renelle and Aoi that make them pretty decent. But she's probably one of the easiest to play, right? Being a ranged wand, having burn setting capabilities. Of course, she does have the skill damage co-ability, so that part is pretty nice.
Her 35% skill damage ability also makes her skills even stronger.
That is true, yes.
He does she does have nice burst damage.
Yeah,
She's
yeah. She's got decent mods, right, on her skills.
hmm
And of course being stun res, right? Even though in this context, right, the sleep res units really shine in Volk.
True.
Since it's a requirement to have at least one of them.
hmm
So typically that role, right, is served by Halloween Lowen, but you know, um, a lot more of the, well, actually, I don't know. I take that back because a lot of sleep res units did really well in Midgar as well. So
True.
yeah. Um, let's see. Is there anything else about Xania that makes her stand? I mean, it's pretty much damage. It's pretty much the co-ability. Yeah,
It's just simple 1 5 star, 3 star.
right, right. Yeah,
So, like
average. You know.
she's not a bad spiral.
Hmm.
At the time she got the spiral, she was one of the best characters. But as time went on, we got more spirals, we got more characters. The meta changed, and she's not that good anymore. But
Right.
she can do anything still. So
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, if you truly didn't have any other 5 star or 4 star, right, flame characters, then building her, of course, wouldn't be a loss.
yeah,
So, yeah. Moving on to the next spiral, we can look at Joe. So, Joe's an interesting character. I'm probably gonna just put him at B minus.
yeah,
I think that's fair, right? His main use is a backline for Marth. So that definitely has its own merit. Um, of course, Burning Edge as a chain co-ability is unique to him and very potent. I mean, you got Skill Haste, right, for bow, and then you have the Burning Edge, and that's a ton of value right there. I think it's 40% in total. So it's an extra, give or take, 4 procs of burn for Marth. Which can go a long way. I think it's definitely more of a max min scenario where you don't necessarily have to build Joe for that potential. But the nice part is you wouldn't have to spiral him if you're using him for the backline.
especially now on Master Volk getting overburned so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think like it's still Joe's collab is still good, but because overburning is so easy, I feel like it's less valuable than before.
Right, right.
But it's still good. The
Yeah,
best,
yeah.
one of the best collabs, Flame. So
Yeah, I mean, Skill Haste and Burning Edge is definitely going to be value, especially like you were mentioning, because burn overcaps, having that extra Burning Edge is going to give at least something, right? I mean, the other competitor you'd have for it would be Cerise, where you'd be getting energy stacks instead of Burning Edge, which makes a good case, right? Because the stacks, depending on how fast you can stack them, that energized damage could make up.
yeah,
Especially if you having energized S2s from Marth during a burning punish. So, yeah. Overall, solid. Definitely solid backline. And then the last 3 stars that we have are Renelle and Aoi. So these two, I guess we'll start with the dagger, right?
yeah.
I've seen actually quite a few of them appear in my master lobbies, so I'm probably actually going to stick them over Alain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, which one performs better per se, but I want to say it's Aoi that performs the best between the
Yeah.
two of them.
I do prefer Aoi. She has a better core ability.
Mm-hmm.
She does have a decent damage because she competes with like um Reina, Nobu, and Kodo,
Right, right, right.
and she's actually better than Mikoto, if I remember correctly. Let me check just to be sure.
Yeah,
But she's actually like really close to the 5 stars.
right. She's
Uh,
definitely a good like budget Reina.
yeah. Oh, she's not higher than Mikoto. She's actually like on the same spot, basically. But yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
she has really good solid damage, like 27k.
Yeah.
And I feel like because her competition is less, the top tier blades are less absurdly good as Ezelith, for example.
Hmm.
I feel like she does have a safer spot compared to Renee, but Renee is also good. She's solid.
Right, right. Yeah. See, the big thing is I think it's the weapon class that you have to look at, right?
Hmm.
So, where Aoi kind of shines is that she's a blade, and so my thought process on it was like, if you're looking for a blade, right? Her competition, as we stated earlier, Mikoto, Nobunaga, and Renee, or I'm sorry, Reina, and that's her competition, right? But then when you look at Renelle, her competition is Ezelith,
Yeah.
and that's problematic because Ezelith is very, very good. Um, to the point where, like, especially with skill shares, when Ezelith hits that 100% crit ratio, things get wild for her. So it's it's definitely tough. You know, there isn't currently a 70 MC blade to really punish or bury Aoi. So her spiral kind of keeps her up with 50 MC blades,
Hmm.
or at least currently, right?
Yeah.
Whereas spiraled Ezelith, and actually not even to mention, I know this isn't necessarily gameplay, but this is maybe like a significant point. New players could just pick up Ezelith, you know, as a
True.
pickup for their roster.
That's true.
Additionally, Ezelith is in the 5-star ticket pool that you can get from running with um, what's the word? The new feature they did, the Royal Regime.
Yeah.
That feature gives quite a few 5-star adventure tickets. Now I know, like, for availability's sake, right, it's not necessarily going hand in hand with gameplay, but more often than not, because Ezelith is a game day launching 5-star, you have more than an opportunity to pick her up,
Hmm.
to consider her. So I think with the overarching prevalence of her as well, it's tough. Like, she definitely is a very powerful spiral, and it definitely dwarfs the overall potential of Renelle, being a 5-star spiral dagger versus the 3-star spiral dagger. Especially when looking at their damage, I think, is Ezelith still, like, she's like top 5 DPS,
Yeah.
if
On
not.
Flame,
Yeah,
she's top three, I think. If you
yeah.
don't take team buffs into account,
Right, 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 right.
she's up there.
And then of course with Skillshare, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
even looking at like Ranzel's Skillshare, I mean, if Ezelith's at 100% crit ratio and she uses Ranzel's Skillshare, things get wild. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of crits. That's a lot of damage. You know.
She's actually higher than Nadine,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
bonkers.
Which, okay, I mean, fair enough. I'll probably pause on speaking about Ezelith till we pull for her, or at least
Yeah.
in the tier list. But I think that kind of situates the other players' positions. Obviously speaking, you know, dagger co-abilities for Renelle and blade co-ability for Aoi are both very strong, um, and they're still worth using in your backline. Um, and then beyond that, I mean, they're just, if you like them, they work. You know.
Hmm.
They're just not the cream of the crop, right? They're the off-meta players.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Moving on, I guess now we're in the 4-star territory. So we can take a look at Valentine's Ezelith first. So
See.
she is, yeah, I'm probably just gonna go with C, for my listing of her. You know, I think she's one of those characters where if you don't have another Boko ability, right, you could run her in the back. Initially, she was pretty amazing for her burning potential, right? Um, and this was like way back in the when Burning Punisher first came out with Mercurial Gauntlet and things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again, since burn isn't the main focus of Volk, um, that's a majority of Valentine Ezelith's identity.
Not only that, but like burn now is not a rare thing in Flame.
That's also true.
Like
Yeah.
before, when Valentine's Ezelith was amazing, we didn't have a lot of burn enablers. But now I feel like it's impossible to not have a burn enabler on the team.
Right, right.
Everyone just burns and is better than Ezelith, so I feel like she lost her special spot of being the only decent burn enabler. But now, not only is everyone better than her on like on a vacuum, but everyone does burn too, so she just doesn't have anything.
Right,
If you
yeah.
somehow, for some reason, I have no idea how would that would happen, but if you somehow don't have a burn enabler, then yeah, build her. She's okay, I guess.
Yeah,
But
she, she has decent utility, right? I mean, she has a low defense down, right? She has burn potential on skill 1.
yeah,
Um, which, funnily enough, like her skill share is her skill 1, right? Which is the one that burns. Um, it's not terrible. I mean, it's 5 cost, which is it's tough to come by, but it is only 5,000 SP. Um, so, I mean, it's not too bad. But then again, once like we said before, it's not exactly the most value. The other thing that's damaging to her overall playability is her chain co-ability is burn equals user wind resistance.
yeah,
So that's kind of yikes. That's probably the worst possible chain co-ability, right? Because that's only triggering when you burn. And unfortunately, burn caps. So that chain co-ability is going to turn off at one point or another. Probably sooner rather than later, which makes it dead in the water. So, especially when you're competing with Joe and Gala Cerise. Because Gala Cerise is giving you free energy, right? That's more damage. And then Joe is also giving you Burning Edge, which in a sense is also free damage, extending how long you can do Burning Punisher.
yeah.
So it's tough. Maybe she gets a Spiral, who knows? But if anything, she wouldn't get one till Valentine's, so we shall see. Anything is possible. You want to look at Melsa next?
Sure.
So we have Melsa.
Don't build her.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the don't build. Obviously, like this don't build here isn't scaled for a top to bottom kind of thing. I think they're all kind of evenly in a don't build. So Melsa's a welfare, which means she doesn't have a skill share. She also doesn't have. She's sleep res, but she's not 100%, right? Because welfare.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only reason I could see you building her is because she's cute.
Yeah. And that's arguable.
Right. You say it's arguable that she's not cute, or arguable that she is cute?
She's not cute. I don't think she is, but that's just me.
Sure, right. Well, she's bunny girl, like she has value. She's canonically friends with Cerise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, she had a fun event. I mean, other than that, I don't have too much to say. I mean, if they do spiral her for like a Hypno rerun, that's someone to revisit for sure. Definitely someone to keep my eye out on. Although the welfare spirals have been very hit or miss lately, so
True.
it just depends. I mean, you could either get one like Su Fang, which is decent, or you could get one like Celiera, and now you're laying down and trying not to cry, but then you're ending up crying a lot. So
She doesn't have anything. Like she doesn't have utility for the team. She doesn't have good damage.
yeah, she's supposed to be
She
damaged,
has-
right?
Yeah, but like her damage is so low. Her mods are just so bad. The SP
Yeah.
cost is low, but it doesn't really matter because her mods are so low.
Right.
She doesn't
Right.
have any good ability. Like I guess Flurry Devastation is good, but she just doesn't have anything going for her.
Yeah. I guess
Low
we could.
damage, doesn't have a full res, bad
Ah.
abilities, bad skills.
Maybe Spiral will fix. I guess we could kind of keep moving on the pain train and get Laxi out of the way. I'm actually gonna say Laxi is probably gonna go in the above options, not available. I think the only reason I'm gonna place her here is because Blade Co-ability.
Um,
Um,
I would argue that she would be on D because it's impossible to not have Aoi now
that's true. That is
because
true, and you could
everyone
do off
has
meta for her.
yeah. Aoi is no yeah, Aoi is welfare now.
Right. That is a good point. You know that's still fresh in actually so fresh I almost forgot. Now that the 3-star cast or a majority of the 3-star cast has been added to the permanent pool. It's interesting, right? Because the one thing that we kind of talked about off camera is that Laxi being a story adventure, you have her shared skill for free. Granted, I guess if we want to talk about it a little bit, it's kind of a little bit weaker than a weapon skill.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're using the Agito weapons, for example, then you're using their bonuses, which more than likely those bonuses are probably more valuable as a permanent buff than a 3k SP. I think it's like 300 mod or so damage skill. It's pretty low, right? But it is free. It is Blade. I don't know. I guess the one reason why I don't have her into D is since she is a story character, more than likely she will receive a spiral in the future.
But she doesn't have now, so
that's a good point. That is a good
yeah.
point. I don't know. Without misleading anyone, right? Laxi definitely is buildable if waifu, but definitely not going to be wildly accepted in pub rooms. I personally have never seen a Laxi in my pub rooms that I've played with Volk, and I've played a ton of Volk. So I guess that's fair. You know what? That's most likely fair to just say D for now.
Yeah.
D until otherwise stated, right? Because if we're holding consistent, then we simply have to say when she gets a spiral, we can reassess.
Yeah.
That's fair. Although, moving along, this next welfare is a welfare that I've had my eye on, and this is Xuan Zhang. Xuan Zhang is 100% off meta. Like, she's actually not bad, but she's not amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's a little below average in terms of the potential, but I've actually seen 4-man Xuan Zhang clears in Master Volk. Like, you know, you get that defense down stack, you have the strength down stack on it. You know, she has the skill 2 Punisher when they have a defense down or a strength down on them. Essentially a debuff Punisher, if you will. Overall, pretty solid, right? Doesn't have a... she doesn't, at the moment, have a skill share, right, because welfare, and she doesn't have 100% stun res, but she has pretty darn good utility.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Is there anything else, really, that you want to say about her? I think that...
No, not a lot. Xuan Zhang was always like a decent welfare. She was always one of the best welfares we got. But I feel like she has always been on the same spot of being like, oh yeah, she's okay. If you don't have any good flame character, you can use her.
Right.
But no one really wants to run with Xuan Zhang. It's surprising that she didn't like change on the overall meta for Flame because Flame got so much better.
Right, right. Plus, I don't think there's any inherent flame lances that are being fished for in the public rooms.
I guess Nadine, but
That's true. I mean, you could say, right, like, I mean, more meta picks, right? Nadine, possibly Galamim,
and
Emma.
Emma, yeah.
Would be her competition. And it's difficult, right? Because Emma Emma's a buffer, so she isn't a debuffer, right? But they still sit in a similar role as a support unit. So yeah, I think off meta's fair. I mean, she clears, like she definitely clears. It's just a matter of you know, off meta.
She has always been off meta, but like one of the best off metas, I feel.
Yeah, I think her placement is pretty solid where she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's keep moving then. Let's look at Verica next then. So Verica is interesting, right? Verica has a stun cleanse, which is pretty good. For the current content, it's not like entirely amazing. And I know this is probably a hot take, but I'm gonna say A for Verica. Yeah. My missing something category for her is primarily like she stun cleanses, right? And that's very strong. But she doesn't offer defensive utility, and she also doesn't offer a skill prep 100 as a passive is a typical passive that's on most of our healers in the metagame nowadays. And that's just something Verica doesn't have access to. I think that's significant. I do think that's significant.
Especially in Volk.
Right.
That you take damage so soon, or even in Expert, you have to cleanse the plague so soon.
Right,
I
right.
think having that skill prep is really important.
Right. So, I mean, of course, that, can be patched with Chocolatiers or Sister's Day Out, or, I mean, I guess Castle Cheer Core would be better, right? But, her competition is tough. You have Halloween Lowen in there, which obviously dominates in the healer meta. And the other big thing is she's stun res, so, that forces you to try to fish for other sleep res characters to kind of fill that hole that Verica's creating by being stun res.
Her skill share is shareable though, which is...
Yeah, so the other things that are really good with her, right, is that, one, her skill share, 100%. Being stun cleanse and having HP regen is awesome, because that translates into other elements, right? Like looking at the twins. If you have burn res units, you can officially use a stun cleanse heal and get them out of a jam. Like get other units out of a jam. I don't know. I don't believe the stun cleanse is that significant in Volk though.
Yeah. No.
Volk is not an affliction heavy fight by any means, and the affliction that he does do is poison. That's the most problematic one, but you really have to make mistakes to get to that point.
Yes.
So yeah, the other last thing that's really great about Verica is she has Dragon Claws 5.
Oh yeah.
And so, of course I have to mention this, right, because I play Mim a lot. And Verica is your min-max backline for Galamim. So, that being said, Cleo is Dragon Claws 3, and that's universal across all characters. So, that Dragon Claw is not locked to element, but Dragon Claws 5 is, I want to say, give or take, 6% strength stronger than Dragon Claws 3. So
I'm not sure.
I think it's each level is like plus or minus like 2% strength, give or take.
I know Dragon Claws 7 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, which is just for 6. Like Galamim's is only 1% higher than Verica's. Let me check really quick Cleo's Dragon Claws. But yeah, her collab is solid.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
You can run on Euden, you can run on Galamim.
Right. Plus, the healing potency, right, effect of her Chainco ability actually has somewhat decent value when you're using the Agito weapon, since the flame Agito weapons have a healing ability as skill 2, right, or if you will, the second activation of the weapon skill. So there's some good value there. I mean, there's utility in it. Of course, the Dragon Claws is more than anything, more value than anything, right? Because it's essentially plus or minus about 30% strength bonus for your shifting. And now the buffs are up to 20 buffs in total for a single buff, up to 200%.
Yeah. It's really hard to get the cap though.
Right. Yeah, I trust me, I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried so hard to stack it. I think the only really big way to stack it is like cheesing, right? Doing like last boost cheese or last bravery cheese to stack your strength to the cap at the current moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you find the differences for the claws?
Yeah, it's Cleo has 32 in total,
Okay.
and Verica is 34. So
Oh, okay. So it's essentially 2%.
2%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I knew overall it was like 1 to 2% right change, and that makes sense, right? Because Dragon Claws 3 being 2 difference, so each level of Dragon Claws adds 1% strength difference. That's the overarching solution, it looks like. So, right, because you said Dragon Claw 6 is 1% difference, right? So if Mim's is 1% difference from Dragon Claw 5, and Verica's is 2% difference from Cleo's Dragon Claw 3, each level adds 1% strength.
Yeah.
So overall, yeah, I mean, every little bit adds up. But yeah, it's like I said before, it's a min-max situation for Mim. Otherwise, Cleo is sufficient for backlining. That being said, I guess we can move along to Yuya. I'm gonna go with Yuya being in B-.
Yeah.
Yuya is interesting. His playability is okay. I mean, he doesn't really have a whole lot of damage. I think primarily, right, his value is his chain co-ability and his co-ability. So crit for dagger, and of course the dragon haste in his chain co-ability is where he shines. So this again is actually a it's a unit I built. I 49'd noted. I probably only needed a 44, give or take, right, for the co-ability. But I built this for Mim as well. You know, stacking dragon haste and having the crit, it's just good. It's, you know, you get the dragon faster, and crit on Mim's skill or her autos is great. So it's kind of what I have to say for him. Do you have anything? I guess we have the shared skill for him to talk about too.
It's just bad.
Yeah, I mean, it could be good, but there's nothing to use for it, right? It's regular shield, so it's not a life shield, and I believe it does also do defense buff. It just has a simple. It's a high SP cost, if I remember correctly. I think it's like 14 or 1500 SP. Or 14 or 15k SP. Sorry, I misspoke. So, yeah. I don't know. Regular shields are not so great. They definitely need a rework to be life shielding. I mean, they do okay, right? But when like the boss trips on you, or they break through the shield, it's not like the shield mitigates the damage. The shield is eaten, and you still take the damage. So, yeah, it is what it is. I guess we'll just move on from Yuya. I think that covers him primarily. We have Sinoa next. I'm gonna go ahead and say off meta for my Sinoa.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about her a little bit, I know I've been hogging the mic a little bit, so I'll give you some breathing room.
Oh, no problem. I think it's mainly because she's okay. She's kind of like Silas before the spiral. Okay, just okay character overall. She does have like really good potential if you have good RNG, but that's not the case for anyone, to be honest.
Right.
So yeah, she's. But even at her lowest, she's still okay. Um, in solo, I feel like she has more value because of the HP.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay. Off meta, for sure. Especially with wand being a good weapon flame. There are some good ones like Xania or Student Maribel. So yeah, doesn't do a lot of special things aside from the random buffs you get.
Right.
Um, she's not bad, but also not good. So off meta is a good place.
Yeah, she's a good candidate for a spiral, right? Um, you know, like we were saying earlier, giving her the lotto effect where she could randomly score all of the buffs, like Silas, would be crazy. I mean, because her buffs are very potent with what she offers, being strength, defense, crit, and then the max HP buffs, which inevitably would turn into healing because you'd probably have a Halloween Lowen on your team.
Uh,
Although maybe with Spiral, I mean, this of course this is potential down the line, right? So this is kind of like off the tier list, but down the line as a support unit, she could potentially use healing shared skills to take the place of Halloween Lowen. But I really don't foresee that happening. He's just very strong. The other somewhat notable comment is that she does have elemental res, which is, as we've mentioned before, not incredible, but it isn't tied to like burn. It's just simply HP equals 80, I believe.
yeah.
So it's some kind of elemental res, which makes it just a little bit better to use in your backline. So a 50 MC Sinoa has a small min-max value over like a Xania, for example. Since I believe Xania's back co-ability is the burn equals the user wind res.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think that covers it. I mean, she does have the shared skill with the custom concoction, but I think the SP is like ridiculously high. I think it's like 18k,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't know if that SP cost was lower. I think there could be some shenanigans. I think the only shenanigans that make sense is running custom concoction on a healer, just because of how much SP they generate. But then you run the risk of just saying, why not run Ellie? Because Ellie's shared skill is a guaranteed 20% strength, right? And it's much lower SP. It's like 14k or 13k, somewhere between there. So, yeah, overall, I mean, decent unit. Can clear. Is fun. I mean, she's sleep res, right? So at least she covers sleep res.
Yeah.
So, now we're getting more into the meat and potatoes, I guess, because we got Euden as our next pick. Euden, I'm gonna go with A+.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely an A+. You know, I think previously he was an S, but I feel like there's a lot more powerful flame units that have come out that kind of take his place. I think he does very well, and I'm always happy to see a Euden around in the lobby. I mean,
Yeah.
he fits the same might category as Marth, right? He fits the same weapon class as Marth, so finding a lobby is very easy. And then, of course, having access to Dispel in the dragon form is good. You know, having access to being able to stack Dragon Claws is good. Yeah, and then overall, just his universal Dragon Haste going on any unit is good value. What else is in Euden's favor? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, his shared skill, right, is free. That's also another good value for him. It does burn, which, again, we mentioned is not necessarily the most valuable thing, but it is a free skill that builds Dragon Gauge. So I think that alone is also very potent. It's 3%, which will work multiplicatively off of the Dragon Haste. So he gives almost 30% Dragon Haste. So That being said, he gets almost 4% off of his. I think it's like 3.9 Dragon Gauge he gets from his own skill. If you're just looking at just from his co-abilities being applied to his skill, so yeah, I mean it's pretty good. It's like 9,000 SP, so it's a little high. If it didn't burn, they probably could have lowered the value on the SP cost, but for a free shared skill, I mean it's pretty good.
I feel like the thing is with Euden, um, not only like everyone has him, but for breaking, he's the best character because he gets so many strength buffs with Dragon Claws. So
That's also very true, being a sword as well.
yeah. He has like swords are naturally are like already really good at breaking,
Right.
but Euden especially makes breaking so fast. I really like Euden. I honestly would say he's just as good as Chrom. Mostly because like Chrom has the absurd high damage with S2, but the thing is both characters take some time to build the damage, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I feel like with Golamars and the Dracolith buff recently, and Golamars, Euden just has many things going for him. And the thing about Chrome is that it's really hard to get the ether ready on break. And Euden has some really consistent damage and has a defense debuff. I really like Euden. He's um, sometimes even better than Chrome, especially with Mars around. The Gala Mars is just so good.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true. Yeah.
yeah. And I do value him really highly. I think A plus is a good spot, but I do think he's arguably S. He's just so good. But yeah, I think A plus is a good place.
Yeah, I think if anything, it would be top of A plus, right?
Yeah,
Um, top of A plus, bottom of S. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good things. The other thing that I had slipped my mind initially was Euden being able to abuse Mars, right? Because Mars having his 20% strength buff to be used twice, and then Euden being able to shift um, into Mars. I mean, you have the potential of using Gala Mim's shared skill and just ramping your Dragon Claws like crazy. Really like focusing on going in and getting as many Mars shifts as you can. So, yeah, I think what I'm thinking through this discussion, right, is I'm gonna stick him into S for the time being.
yeah.
Um,
No,
I think he definitely is like a bottom of S, but he definitely
yeah.
could be descriptive as like an S unit. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of
If
has everything you want.
if Mar didn't exist, I would definitely put him in S. But because his competition is rough, I still think he's A plus. But like, if someone says his S at the bottom of S, I wouldn't argue with the person. But as of now, I think we should still put him at A plus.
That's fair.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's tough, right? Because you're looking at Mars, and then you're also looking at Marth, and that's
yeah,
his direct competitor. So, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll leave him. I mean, A plus is very respectable. I mean, it's
yeah.
a very strong, as it states, very strong pick. You know. Um, so yeah, that's fair enough. Looking at another flame sword, I'm actually gonna pull up Serena. Um, I'll put her in average. I mean, I think B plus is a fair category for her. The one value that she does have, though, is the 10 hits equals 13% crit ratio in her chain co-ability,
Yeah.
along with Dragon Haste. So, um, if you are running, and this is interesting because if you are running a character like that wants Dragon Haste, right, like Euden or Mim, Um, Serena's co-ability combination is actually better than Yuya's because you get 3% more crit ratio.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So you're trading 3% crit for 3% dragon haste.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, overall, right, the percentages end up being the same, and so it's just a matter of how much of whatever you're getting, right? Because Yuya's 18% dragon haste, and she's 15. Um, but, you know, if you're stacking Primal Crisis, right, if you're stacking, you know, any kind of combo time, like a Nobunaga combo time, or even the built-in combo time from the weapon, you know, chances are you're building around not dropping your 10 hits combo.
Yeah.
So making the 10 hits combo negligible, essentially because you can't drop it, puts her pretty good. You know, I think her skill share is just damage, right? So it's kind of negligible in that aspect. And then being a flame sword, her competition is very, very rough. So if anything, it's like kind of bottom of B plus. It's like bottom of average. I mean, you could clear with her in off meta, right?
Yeah, I've seen some Serena clears.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers. Is there any other niche comments or things that you wanted to mention with her?
No.
Yeah. I guess we could look at a more interesting pick, right? Would be Emma.
Yeah.
Emma, I'm kind of torn about. So let me kind of like walk you through what I'm thinking. I have Emma at like between A and A plus. I want to go higher with her, but the problem is that she's never in, like, for example, when we look at power farming compositions for Volk, you see Emma in those compositions, right? And it looks like she'd be S or S plus.
Yeah.
But those are private lobbies only.
Yeah.
And so that's my big problem, is that because they're private lobbies only and they're not public rooms, I've tried Emma cheese in public rooms, and there's a lot that needs to pull off for it to go correct.
Yeah.
You got Emma, right? You got the Marth trying to do last boost. Everything needs to be timed appropriately. So I think it's fair to say that Emma is probably a strong but missing something category. It's one of those situations where in other elements the support can become the healer, right? But in Flame, it's better to make the healer become the support because Halloween Lowen exists.
Yeah.
So I think because of how important the heal timing is in Volk's fight, you can get away with using Emma to heal time appropriately, but in a public setting, it's just much safer and much more consistent to run Halloween Lowen. In that regard, right? And then if you're not running, let's say you're running both of them, like Emma and Halloween Lowen, you're in this weird situation where your DPS suffers now because, well, unfortunately now you're not running 3 Marths, right? Or, you know, like 2 Marths and a Euden, or, you know, 2 Marths, 1 Marth, Crom, right? Some kind of composition like that.
Some Mars Ezelith is popular too.
Yes, yeah, and Ezelith as well, and I know I hadn't included her, but definitely, thank you for bringing her in. Yeah, all right. So now you're in this weird position where the potential of Emma is wasted because you have a slot dedicated for your healer.
Yeah.
Granted, you know, her shared skill is good, being the 25% for Flame. So I mean, overall, right? You know, in terms of gameplay, Emma's shared skill is definitively the highest strength buff for Flame. So that has good value. And then her chain co ability is the 40% or lower HP equals like 15% strength, which is really good. It's just that there aren't a lot of low HP flame units in the game.
especially in Flame.
Right.
I don't think there is any in Flame.
It's just
I can't
Chelsea.
remember one.
It's Chelsea.
Oh yeah, Chelsea exists.
Yeah, but the problem is Chelsea's damage is lackluster, to say the least. And it's difficult when heal timing is required, because if you're playing as Chelsea, it's difficult to stay low HP when you're required to get healed to remove Plague. So, the bouncing back and forth of HP to deal with Volk's mechanics cause an issue with that kind of playstyle. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Emma is still a strong buffer. I've still cleared with Emma. It's just that, because you're forced to slot a healer in this fight, her potential as a buffer is diminished. So, yeah, I think that covers everything, right? Shared skill, co-ability. That pretty much nails it. Speaking of which, since we have been talking about Halloween Lowen, let's get him out of the way as well. I'm putting him in S.
Yeah.
There's kind of no way around it. I mean, I would maybe even go as far as to say S+.
No.
But I think top of S is probably fine with him. I mean, my reasoning, right, for going to that level is that his shared skill off the bat is a defense buff, but also regen, which is just universally applicable across elements, along with just his potential as a healer, right? I mean, you have 75% skill prep, which is easily patched to 100 with strong prints, that also have buff time. From Whence He comes to mind for that.
He does have the skill charge on.
Yes,
on
and
her.
he has the skill charge of his own accord, right, for his Force Strike, which is just super awesome. That's really, really good. And then he's also got the max HP and healing factor as well in his skills. So, and he's sleep res, which is amazing, because if you're pairing him with Marth or Euden, then you have your 1 sleep res, 1 stun res combo, and then you can fill in the rest of your units as you please.
Yeah.
So that's really good value too, right? Yeah, and and the other thing too is he has good timing, because he has 75% skill prep and the Force Strike fill on his gauge. He has excellent control and timing over when he can heal the team. So, yeah, I mean, Volk is so heavily dependent on having a healing unit on the team, and he's just probably the best. I mean, we're seeing multiple iterations of Halloween Lowen appear in other elements now, right? I mean, you have regular Lowen, which is almost identical, the difference being the Dispel, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Cleo, actually. Cleo's Spiral is basically the same thing.
Yeah. The regen for regular Lowen is not as high, which still makes Halloween Lowen the best healer in my opinion.
That's true. Although the regular Lowen bonus is that he gets 25% defense.
Yeah.
On his skill too.
But
also the HP, max HP on regular Lowen, I know this is kind of off topic, but the max HP is 15%, which means he hits cap after 2 skills.
True.
So that's good merit, right? Because he has 100% skill prep. So that means he just has to fill 1 S2, and then the team is maxed out with the 30% bonus HP, buff.
I think the only thing that doesn't make him S+ is that he's a healer. I know this sounds kind of like a meme, but I really mean it. Because I feel like Volk is the only fight that kind of wants a healer, and you can get away with other healers, or maybe even like healerless if everyone is running heal shared skills. Like you can run Verica or maybe even Valentine's
That's true.
Hildegard
It's
instead of
true.
Lowen. I mean, you can say that for any character, right? You can say, "Oh yeah, I can run Euden instead of Marth,"
Hmm.
but you can get pretty much the same results with different healers. It's just a bit harder. Um, he's definitely the best healer, but being a healer, I think, limits his potential overall. So that's why I wouldn't say he's S plus.
Yeah, I
But
think
he
that's fair.
definitely S. He's amazing.
I think it's fair because it's not mandatory to have
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I think the S plus category we were kind of mentioning was like universally the best, meaning like you really are fishing for that character.
Yeah,
And in a lot of cases, it's like you want him like 60-40, but the other 40% of the time, if you had a Verica, right, um, it's doable.
yeah,
Additionally, having multiple Marths with their own HP regen, makes the Plague easier to heal off.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I kind of see where you're going with it. Granted, I mean, S is still an incredibly respectable spot. I mean, if he goes much higher, right, he's basically a staple. And most people have him built at this point. And if you
Yeah.
if you don't have Halloween Loan built, I definitely recommend it. I mean, he's probably the best 4-star unit, gotcha unit that I can think of offhand. I don't see any other
There
4-stars that really compete with him on that level.
there are some good ones, but yeah, he's one of the best.
Right.
I feel like he's the only must-have from Halloween.
Yeah. 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 No, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think he's more valuable to have in your Halidome than like Halloween Mim,
Yeah,
for Flame at least. Halloween Mim, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we'll expand on her more, um, but you know, she's good and has a lot of unique merits that we'll obviously talk about in a little bit. But overall, right? You know, a Halloween Lowen is just he's phenomenal. I mean, he covers a lot of bases. He's sleep res, right? I mean, he has the HP regen skills. He has the force charge built into his kit. These are all things that help him perform his role as a healer to the very best that he can. It gives a lot of tools to the user
yeah.
to play him. So, yeah. That being said, S is great. We have 3 more 4-stars left to talk about. I think I'm gonna pull the one that I've been wanting to 50 MC for the longest time, which I might actually do since we did get a bunch of Eldwater, and that's UA.
Mm-hmm.
So UA right away is going to go into B- as valuable for chain co-ability and shared skill. But, this one I might actually talk myself into off meta for this. She does have some value outside being a flame axe that can inflict stun on her. I believe it's her skill 1. So, in terms of the Volk fight, that's actually pretty nuts because then you can just repeatedly drop stun on Volk during his plagued phases, if you will, like Blood Moon, Steel Vitality, even in the Shroud, is when UA has the ability to do these things. So there's merit there for that.
Mm,
I think,
I would
yeah.
go on.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the stun is not enough, in my opinion, to make her be off meta. This case because it's just that her damage is so low, and like if you want stun, there are so many better ways to get stun in Volk. You have Arctos. Uh, Ezelith Arctos is actually like really solid. You can even run Arctos on Lowen, and you can run Annalise shared skill or maybe Zubaje. There are some shared skills with stun. Um, Overall, I think her damage is so low that I wouldn't run her. So I wouldn't say she's off meta, but her shared skill does have some niche. That's why I agree with B minus, but not off meta because it's just that even though she has the stun,
Mhm.
which is nice, her damage is so low compared to the rest of the units that
Right, right.
I wouldn't run her. So like I guess you can clear like with how easy every content is nowadays with the time limit being 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Everyone can do it, but I wouldn't run um Yoe. But her shared skill does have some niche. So yeah.
Right, yeah,
B
the
minus.
20% crit and the 3% damage self-healing effect is unique
Yeah.
as a shared skill, and that part is pretty nuts. Um,
Yeah.
I definitely like that a lot. And I think it's 5 cost if I'm not mistaken, which is respectable. I mean, there's a lot that you can run alongside that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a long buff time. I think it's like 30 seconds as well.
Yeah.
20, 30 seconds, give or take, between there. Um, so definitely, good survivability. Actually, you know what's wild about it is that shared skill would have actually given me a lot more wiggle room and a lot more comfortability when I was doing my Audric solos.
Oh yeah. Like she is. I know it's not Volk, but
Hmm.
her shared skill is actually a necessity, almost a necessity for the speed clear.
Hmm.
So like yeah, she's her shared skill does have some niche, but definitely not a good character overall.
Yeah, right, right, right. Definitely, worth building her to make other units better. Is basically
Yeah.
the end result for her. Um, moving along to another axe unit, we have regular Vanessa.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not necessarily convinced where I want to place her. I probably wouldn't go any farther than off meta.
I
Uh,
think she's off meta. Her damage is decent.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
She does have defense down as well,
yeah.
which is decent value. She doesn't burn, so it's not like she can oversaturate the burn units. Um, her shared skill is damage, I believe only.
Yeah.
Doesn't do much more than that, if I'm not mistaken. Um, do you know her chain co ability offhand? I know obviously with an axe she's defense co
I
ability, but
don't. I have no idea.
is it?
I can check.
Mhm.
Uh, Vanessa.
Yeah, and she's stun res as well.
Yeah, it's HP 60% equals 5% strength.
Okay, so she's kind of
So
like a baby Ramona in that way, with
yeah,
backline potential.
which is okay.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about her. She's just okay at the moment.
Yeah,
I think she'll get the clear, but obviously, I don't see too many axes getting searched for in public rooms.
yeah,
So I see off meta is probably a fine pick. And then we have the last one. Then is Karl in the listing.
yeah,
So Karl, I'm gonna go with average for Karl, B plus.
yeah,
I think probably top of B plus is probably fine. Karl's solid. Um, Karl's solid, right? His skill 1 is pretty much never used. He's pretty much an S2 bot where he's just spamming his strength buff. And
yeah.
again, his strength buff is arguably competitive with Emma.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, I don't know. I don't see much more than that for her, or for Karl, right? He's just decent, like decent damage, decent shared skill, but his damage really isn't coming from him. Obviously, it's a buff bot scenario, so kind of same thoughts as Emma, right? Where because a healer is almost mandatory for the fight, he loses out that value. Um,
Yeah,
You know, and as a sword unit, yes, he gets the overdrive break, but it's not as valuable in Volk, since of course if you're looking at the humanoid form, there's no overdrive there, and then if you're looking at the master form where it's simply the dragon, uh, there's not too much to go on there either. I mean, he's not primarily an overdrive for I mean, he is, give or take, but you're competing with Marth. You know, you're competing with Crom. You're competing with Euden. It's tough. It's tough to say build Karl when you could build Euden, right? I mean, and that being said, like, not necessarily building them, but their potential and what they offer. You know, Euden, Marth, even Crom, like, they have better utility than just a strength buff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that does it for the 4 stars. I think that also is going to do it for part 1. So, I think I'll wrap this up here. Part 2, then we'll be covering all the 5-star flame units as well. So, Laura, do you have any closing words you want to say to everybody?
No. Just follow me on Twitter if you want. I post things, I guess, not related to DL, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
really.
guys. Yeah, we'll have his Twitter link in the description below, as well as Reddit, and then of course we'll have the Discord link in the description below as well. So if you guys want to see the finished tier list, as well as look forward to seeing part 2, guys, please subscribe as well, and you'll see that content come out as soon as it's available. Thanks again for watching, guys, and look forward for part 2. Bye.